You were taught to survive, not to live. That's why joy feels foreign, peace feels suspicious, and silence feels unbearable. You were not raised to be free. You were trained to be compliant, to be useful, to be digestible, to be safe. Your worth was measured in obedience, not in authenticity. And so you became small. You folded yourself into corners just to fit. You wore smiles that weren't real, laughed when it hurt, worked twice as hard just to feel half as seen. This wasn't love. This was survival. Somewhere in your early years, the world taught you that being yourself was risky. Too loud. You're a problem. Too quiet. You're invisible. Too sensitive? Toughen up. Too emotional? Calm down. So you adapted. You learned to read the room before you read your own needs. You became excellent at managing the expectations of others, but terrible at knowing your own. And now, you wonder why you're exhausted all the time. Why joy feels unfamiliar. Why stillness feels heavy. Because you were taught to be alert, not relaxed. Prepared, not present. Silent, not sovereign. You were taught that comfort is dangerous. That peace is weakness. That safety comes from control, not connection. So you built walls. You built routines. You built identities that got you approval, but never love. Not real love. Not the kind that sees your soul. Not just your performance. And every time you tried to live, really live, messily, loudly, truthfully, the world punished you. It called you dramatic. Too much. Selfish. But it wasn't you. It was the world that couldn't hold space for your light. So now you live like a shadow of yourself. Hyper-aware. Hyper-responsible. Hyper-independent. You've mastered the art of surviving. But you've forgotten the art of living. Because survival taught you to numb. To avoid risk. To shrink desire. To silence your needs. And now that the war is over, you still carry the armor. Now that no one's shouting, you still flinch at kindness. Now that there's space to breathe, you forget how to inhale. This isn't your fault. This is programming. This is protection. This is what happens when pain rewires your nervous system to believe that being small is safe. But here's the thing. Survival was never meant to be a lifestyle. It was a response. A temporary shield. You were never meant to live behind that mask forever. It's time to unlearn, to defrost, to allow. Living is risky, yes, but not living is soul death. Real life is messy. It's loud. It's unpredictable. It's vulnerable. But it's also full of beauty, of serendipity, of surprise, of music, of connection, of the kind of laughter that cracks you open, of the kind of stillness that feels like home. You deserve that, even if you don't believe it yet. So what now? Now, you start slow. You notice the sky. You rest without guilt. You cry when you need to. You say no without explaining. You say yes without fearing. You speak even when your voice shakes. You dance even if you look ridiculous. You allow yourself to want. You forgive yourself for not knowing how. Because living isn't about performing. It's about experiencing. It's about being here. Truly here, in your body, in your breath, in this moment. And even if your system still whispers, this is dangerous, you lean in anyway. Because healing isn't about returning to who you were, it's about becoming who you were never allowed to be. You were taught to survive. Now it's time to learn how to live. And living, it doesn't happen all at once. It's a slow remembering, a gentle rebuild, one choice at a time. It's choosing to feel when you want to shut down, to reach out when everything in you says withdraw, to rest before breaking, to breathe before reacting. It's learning to sit with discomfort, not to push it away, but to ask it what it's trying to teach you. It's allowing space for the question, what if life could feel good? That question may terrify you, because when you've known only survival, joy feels like a setup, a trap, a trick waiting to collapse. So you brace, you tighten, you sabotage, you shrink, because better feels dangerous, because hope feels naive, because happiness was never guaranteed. But you are not broken for that. That's the wound talking, the voice of the frightened child within you, still unsure whether the world is safe enough to come out and play. And yet, every time you honor that child, not with shame, but with compassion, something inside you softens, something begins to thaw, because life isn't about being fearless. It's about moving anyway, heart shaking, voice trembling, soul cracking open. It's about feeling everything, even when it hurts. It's about letting yourself be changed by what you've survived, not hardened, but deepened. Candid. You were taught to armor up, to always be ready, to prepare for disappointment. But there's another way to exist, a way that feels like home, where you don't have to prove, where you don't have to earn, where you don't have to hide. A life where your softness is sacred, your joy is valid, your pace is enough. No more rushing through rest, no more apologizing for tears, no more shrinking your light to make others comfortable. Living is a rebellion against everything that taught you your existence must be justified. So reclaim it, with quiet mornings and honest conversations, with messy art and undone stances, with full body laughter and deep, awkward silence. Reclaim your right to pause, to play, to wonder, to not know, to ask, what would my life feel like if I weren't just surviving? And listen, there's no finish line. There's no perfect healed version of you waiting at the end. There's just now, this breath, this day, this choice, to be a little more gentle, a little more curious, a little more you. You are not lazy. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are remembering. You are re-becoming. You are reaching toward the version of you that never got to breathe freely. And maybe today, you let her. Maybe today, you let him rest. Maybe today, you begin to live. Not for them, not to prove, but because your soul is ready. Ready to feel again. Ready to belong. Ready to come home. You were taught to survive. Now, slowly, gently, beautifully, you are learning to live.